function, pumping and dumping, manipulate the market, flooded from the darknet, flooded from the deep web, keep it a secret. Every exchange got the nerdy brains trading on the frequent.
Okay, I think everyone should be able to hear me here. We're going to go to face cam now. And I'm going to try to switch. Aha! Okay, that seems to be the problem right there. Don't worry, I'm still here. I think you can all hear my voice in low res mode. This is going to be that type of stream, isn't it? What we're going to do is we're going to switch back and forth between the cameras. And there we go. Now my head is on here with a slight bit of lag. Now, we're going to do one last audio test where I'm going to switch back to the previous mic and hope that that works. If it doesn't work, we'll just switch to the lower bitrate one. All right. Let's see. This one should work now. I'm going to wait for the audio to loop back around to make sure that it's working and I'm not chipmunking still. Let's see. This one should work. Yay! We have audio working now. My hair is even more crazy. Hi, everyone out there on the interwebs. Welcome to the live stream. Welcome to the DCG 201 channel. Going to get the introductions out of the way because this is going to be a short stream for multiple reasons. One, hi, I am Sidepocket. That's what people refer to me on the internet. I'm one of the two co-founders of DCG 201, otherwise known as DEFCON 201 or DC 201. That was the former names before we changed it just for clarity's sake. We are one of the many DEF CON hacker meetup groups named after the DEF CON hacking convention, the big one in Las Vegas. That's across the United States and around the world. The 201 means we're located in New Jersey. I love to put that little accent on the end there, particularly Jersey City, New Jersey. We normally meet third Friday of the month, although we are going to be making some changes. We plan on testing out. We love subculture. There's nothing wrong with subculture really, but we want to try out a new venue on April. We're going to see how that goes. And in May, we're doing a special event that needs a lot of space. So, you know, there's going to be like 2 different locations for the next 2 months, and then we're going to kind of consistently go between 1 or 2 of them. But we do meet in Jersey City, so, you know, we might meet. Instead of Friday, we might meet Saturdays. We're still working on that. We'll know by the beginning of April. So by April Fool's, April 1st, we will know, ironically enough. That's why we're not going to announce the news on that day. We're going to announce on April 2nd. But if you want to know more information about our organization and all the elite hacks we do, our web... See, it's like New Jersey. There's winter construction. We're in the construction phase. Our website, we're currently updating the certs and a bunch of other stuff behind the scenes, so it's currently down. So I'm pointing you towards our Medium blog in the meantime. Our website normally is, which is listed below at defcon201.org or dcg201.org. But currently, you can probably get the most up-to-date information on our blog. If you are interested in, if you want to like follow us on social media, so you get announcements of what we're about to do, what we're about to stream and stuff. As you can see below here, we have multiple social media accounts. I think our 2 biggest ones is DEFCON201NJ on Twitter and DEFCON201 on Instagram. But we're also on the hostducks.social incidents of Mastodon. Obviously, we're on Meetup. We're on WriteAs. We're on GitHub. We have our own .onion, all those things. If you want a master list of that, including all the other stuff that you can see our live streams from, I just posted the link tree in chat. And actually one last thing. So if you do like the content that you're going to see today, and this is probably going to be a very short episode, and I'll explain why in a moment. There's nothing tragic, just there's a recent thing that came up and then an overall thing that came up because we're kind of streaming early. Why isn't this... Hold on. For some reason, I guess Twitch is being wishy-washy with the chat updates. Let me try sending that again. I don't know why it's doing that. Oh, that's weird. Hold on. Test. Okay, so for some reason, it won't let us post the social media. Hang on. I'm going to try an experiment here, folks, before we get into this. I'm just going to post our link tree and see if that goes into Twitch. Okay, that made it. For some reason, I want to do the earlier ones. But anyhow, if you like the stuff that you see streaming here, you can go watch us on our 3 main channels. Like, share, subscribe, and follow us completely for free on Twitch, DLive, and YouTube. When you do so, particularly when we're live streaming, we shout you out and cheer you on and stuff. It really helps out the channel. It also helps you out. We make no monetization. It's more of getting the word out. It also helps you out because anytime you like, share, and subscribe, especially if you're on YouTube and you click that bell to put on all notifications because YouTube is such a fucking huge pile of shit. Poorly coded and optimized. That, where was this? Okay, I'll look for that later. That you get updates right when we're streaming, like some of you did now. So you'll be able to, like, if you can't remember our schedule, if you can't remember that this show normally happens every second and fourth Saturday of every month, or my other show, Master of Unlocking, happens every first and third Sunday of every month. Our meetings normally the third Friday of every month, etc. Like crazy specials, because we're going to be having a lot of specials, particularly when the HackerCons start. When you follow us on Twitch, DLive, and YouTube, or any other streaming platform, you get notifications. We also are apparently streaming, unfortunately, on Facebook because we have to reach the boomers somehow. If you are on Facebook, there is a way that you can chat with us, but you kind of have to hack the system itself because Facebook is the other garbage program thing. I just post that link in chat right there. Also, we got our diode zone working, so we're on PeerTube, independent, decentralized media. Put a feather in the decentralized part because we are going to cover that. And until we figure out our IRC situation by our next meeting, if you want to chat with us, we do have a Discord group. We usually use it for CTFs. In fact, there's going to be a CTF happening next week that we're going to be involved in, so stay tuned, and you can try out your hacking skills and stuff along with us and everything else. Now, let me just find one more thing. Here we go. Turn that on. There we go. And I will explain what this show is. I'll also explain that in a moment. But in addition to partially live streaming our meetings, we actually just had our 3rd year anniversary last Friday, like 2 Fridays ago. And it was an okay meet up and hang out with some people. But unfortunately, we couldn't get the live streaming stuff to work, which is why I'm moving all those live streaming content to April. April's looking really good as a hybrid meeting. I really can't wait for that. But what was I getting to here? Hydration Squad. See, short episode. You see how tiny this T, let's call it that is? That's what's going on there. But, what was I getting to here? We do also just special interest shows. Sometimes they're like specials one-off. Sometimes they're a series. This is one of those series. It's called Crypto Barons. It's this show along with my show Master of Unlocking. And this is the show where we look at cryptocurrency and blockchain technologies as technologies. I started this show because I am very interested in cryptocurrencies and blockchain tech. Oh, and I just realized I was supposed to do something today. So we'll pad out the episode with that little bit that I'll do in a moment. But I'm very interested in cryptocurrency and blockchain and tech. And, you know, in the early days, it was much more simple. Even when Bitcoin took off, it was still, you know, all cool and experimental and stuff. And then the investors came in and it was a mix of established quo people putting regulations on everything and frickin' crazy ass criminal libertarians, U.S. libertarians, I might add, trying to stuff their mattresses with digital money. And it basically kind of ruined the landscape of any really good talks around cryptocurrency and blockchain technology as technology, which is why when you look up cryptocurrencies and blockchain, you find a ton of investor stuff and like, do you buy the dip? Do you sell the drip? What's this thing? How does it impact your wallet? What do you invest? Buy? And it's just boring. If I wanted to follow that shit in real life, I would just watch fucking C-SPAN and watch the goddamn U.S. stock market exchange. Because that's basically what you're doing digitally. It's literally the same shit. I don't care about all this like Wonder Tech, Elon Musk, decentralized shit, which we're going to get into. Unfortunately, that's what the general public has turned that into. And so what you don't hear a lot about is, cool, here's a new cryptocurrency. How the fuck does it work? To pose a Passover question, because Passover is coming up, what is the difference between this cryptocurrency compared to all the other cryptocurrencies? Because I can't really do a Yiddish accent, and that was just really bad, so heh. but like what makes this cryptocurrency, there's a new one, cryptocurrency, different from other cryptocurrencies? Is it open source? Can we look at the code for it? What is it coded with? Does it use any external stuff that it's adopted and forked? Has it changed? If they did they change anything in that fork? Is there a test net? Can we run it? Is there a wallet? Can we run it? What's the math that drives all this crypto in cryptocurrencies? Things like that. That's what we talk about on this show. And before I get into more stuff, two things. One here, and then we're going to transition. See all these numbers and stuff above me? I believe I actually also have it typed in my pad here. I think I do. Hold on. I should have. Oh, why isn't that in here? Why do I not have that? Okay, I'll have to add that later. I thought I had the addresses directly in there so I can post it in chat, but I can't. But anyhow, when that incent reward goes away, which is a really cool way to make cryptocurrency money while you watch our show, it's not a scam. It's actually pretty neat. We're not sponsored by them. We just found this and thought it was really cool. As you well know, and this is kind of tying into what the episode's going to be about today, there's the current conflict going on with Ukraine and Russia. And that's like the PC thing about it. Basically, Putin went completely fucking nuts. I mean, he even advocated J.K. Rowling on her turfness. That's how, like, fucking awful things are. Whoop, did the stream just blacked out? Hold on. Probably just did that on my end, so I'm going to send another test. Everything works. I thought we were, like, Russian FBI, open up! And, like, all that stuff. If they didn't do that in the last episode where we talked about Russian cryptography with cryptocurrencies, then they're not going to do that here, I think. But, yeah, Putin went fucking nuts and decided, you know what, I'm just going to be a dick. I'm going to be like Hitler, challenge accepted, and just reinvade all of Eastern Europe and make everyone else's life a miserable hell, including my own countrymen. So we have a ton of Ukrainians being displaced and murdered and worse. And then you have a bunch of soldiers who did not sign up for this. That's why a lot of them are quitting. And then people in Russia trying to protest this. But because they basically have the police force that the United States will have within 5 years, they're being blackbagged and tortured and everything. And they have no legal rights. So basically, it's just a dumb situation all around. There are multiple ways you could support this. We covered it in the previous episode. I can recover it again if we want to. But the quick end of it is that these three addresses for these three cryptocurrencies, if you want to directly donate to the Ukrainian government to help out with monetary stuff for all the orphans that have been caused for this, sending people to neutral neighboring countries, feeding the people currently there, when they retake territory, and hopefully when this is over on a good side, having to rebuild physically their entire country and things like that. They are actually accepting cryptocurrencies as donations. So if you have any Bitcoin, Ethereum, and or USD, just any ERC20, and polka dots that you don't give a shit about, you can donate up there and it'll help out for like an actual good cause. And don't take my word for it. If you type in these addresses, and I'll try to get them to put in chat at some point. I don't know how I missed that before. But if you, what was I getting to here? If you don't trust these, you can go to the official Ukraine Twitter or type in like Ukraine cryptocurrency tweet or whatever and compare these two addresses. I literally copy pasted from them. So just putting that out there. The second thing is of what this episode's going to be about and why this is going to be a short episode. This is actually an episode I've been on and off wanting to do for a while. It's been on the back burner. A lot of Crypto Barons is literally the reverse of Master of Unlocking. With Master of Unlocking, I'm at the mercy of the U.S. Postal Service and my own budget. So often I'm just kind of dicking around and stalling until very recently for us to cover topics. For Crypto Barons, there is way too many fucking topics that I haven't covered yet. And I feel like the worst is when I prepare for an entire week for a topic, and then something happens in the crypto world where I'm like, fuck, I have to delay that and now do an entire episode just on this that just happened like 12 hours before the episode starts. It drives me crazy. That's literally happened multiple times in the past. Sometimes it's small enough that I could attach them before other episodes or at the end of other episodes. Sometimes I literally have to yeet that episode into the next episode and then do that topic. It drives me fucking crazy. So there's a lot of topics I still haven't covered yet. A lot of even basic stuff. And the one we're going to cover today, because ironically, despite you all voting for this topic on our Twitter, it actually turns out that this is very topically relevant, is we're going to be looking at the Coinbase controversy. Hey, welcome back, SCJ. By the way, I also really love really active chats. I love talking to chat, especially since this is going to be a short episode. I'm going to be kind of stretching things a bit. So if you have any questions about what we're talking about today, what's going on with my crazy hair, the Ukraine effort, me rambling or whatever, please let me know in chat. Unless you're like a really sad troll, because I've been around the internet. I know when there's like lame cringe. And I will literally boot you out immediately. But if you're just here to sit back and try to learn whatever the hell I'm going to show you on today's episode, as I always say, keep lurking and keep learning. But what we're going to be covering is the Coinbase controversies. There's been two major ones recently, both being Hydrate Squad. Compacting. So, the weird thing is the sky's not actually blue. It's just the way the light reflects through the composite gas of our atmosphere that makes it look blue most of the time during the daytime, and why it goes red, purple, and then at night it's black because we don't get enough light. And that's actually probably, at night, is probably the default nature of our sky. They actually have basically confirmed that because other planets' atmospheres have different gases, some places might have literally a yellow sky or a green sky or even colors that we don't perceive. Just throwing it out there, a little bit of science, but see, this is what I mean by interactive chat. But there are two main controversies with Coinbase, and they're both related to the current Russian-Ukraine conflict, which, besides the goodness of my terrible soul, is why I'm bringing this up. And this brings up a topic I've been wanting to cover for a while, which is I've been meaning to do a bunch of stuff on exchanges, and mainly the concept of a centralized exchange and a decentralized exchange, and what's the difference between the two. And for the decentralized exchange, because, Coinbase is going to be our central one we're going to look at in the very beginning. We're going to be looking at, I think it's pronounced Bisq or Bisq. It's like Bisquick, like the pancake stuff. Now, this is why this episode is going to be short. So the very recent thing was literally for the 2 hours before I had this episode, I tried installing Bisq. I'm pretty sure it runs fine, but at least on my default operating system, I've apparently run out of space on this machine that I did not configure. And the worst part is that even when I try to use the other drives that have like gigabytes among terabytes of fuck you bytes of memory, it still won't install. It needs to have that core thing, which is literally running on like hopes and farts and prayers. So I will at the end, because I have space on these, load up a VM and we'll try to install this on Linux or something and see if that works. I doubt it, but we'll see if that works at the end. Because I was originally going to do like a short tour of what the program is. We are going to look at the code for it since it's open source. Thank you guys. There's a whole reason why I'm choosing Bisq over all the other decentralized exchanges right now. But yeah, I was originally going to do a short, like about 5-10 minute segment about Bisq, like running, and like we would actually try to trade cryptocurrencies and stuff. But it won't install, not because Bisq sucks to some degree. More, I wish I could choose another drive and it could just install on there. But just because I've run out of space on a computer, I haven't configured, so I can't really rearrange the memory on this, which is one of the reasons why in the next like 2 to 3 months, I'm going to be looking at a new streaming computer, essentially a new like video gamer-ass computer that can just be good at streaming. And then maybe have another more powerful computer to do all this crazy crypto shit. But the really short second reason, because you're probably wondering, we normally start at 8, and it's going to be 8 very shortly. We started at 7. I tried to jump the gun. We're probably going to be streaming until about like 8:30. Why the fuck, if we start at 8, am I streaming at 7? Long story on or short, I have a date later tonight at 10, and I still need to do laundry and take a shower and stuff. And it's going to be a long-ass date. It's going to go, like, literally the place that me and them are going to is going to be at, like, 4 a.m. in the morning. I don't know if we're going to be there until 4 a.m. in the morning. It's probably going to be more like 2 to 3 a.m. in the morning in New York fucking City. But that's why I'm doing this real quick, because there's another human that I need to hang out with, so... Yeah, nice. So, wish me luck or wish me to fail or whatever, but that's the reason why this episode's going to be, like, roughly 30 to 40 minutes long. So, with all of that out of the way, yes, there is an episode. Let's take a look at the Coinbase controversy and why we're having problems with centralized exchanges such as Coinbase, and why people are now, for once, actively looking into decentralized exchanges. What does that mean? And looking at an example of one through Bisq. And I also apologize to the Bisq community if I can't get the application running. Again, in the near future, probably in June, we're going to do an episode, or maybe even December. Sometime before the end of this year, we're going to be doing an episode of all the stuff that we couldn't do properly, where programs didn't run and stuff. Because I've gotten a bunch to run off cam since, and just be like, here's what this actually looks like. Yes, this does run. Here was the stupid coding mistake I made where it didn't run. Things like that. So without further ado, let's get into the actual episode. We're going to go to the content mode here. So as kind of pointed out before, this is the DCG 201 blog. We're kind of using this for the next couple of days until we get our certs and website sorted out. I'm going to quickly click on this and hope it loads and doesn't kill the actual stream. But we have a whole guide, which I'm going to post in chat right now, the URL for it, where you can donate, where it talks about how you can, like, what this Ukrainian conflict is, a ton of resources on how you can help contribute for all different things, for people with disabilities, children, the elderly, LGBTQ people, African and other immigrants there. Why did the browser just die? Please don't tell me the stream died. Okay. It was all of that. Religious ethnicities, animals, the environment, investigative journalism. And we actually have a resource here at the bottom where, you know, you could donate to places like archive.org and the Wikimedia Foundation and ISOC and Access Now, Freedom of the Press, so that way we get good reporting and then some like optional hacks that we're not going to go to. And we have an entire section on how you can use cryptocurrency to help out the Ukraine. So like I said, you can see right here, here are those tweets. Here are the tweets that show the actual addresses, which we have listed above, that we're going to re-put above our head here. Let's find this. Nope, that's not it. There we go. So that's the stuff above that. But yeah, this is the exact tweet addresses, and I'm going to put them in chat. They're going to be listed above us at all times, but here's the direct links to the wallet for Bitcoin and Ethereum, which includes basically USDT and any real like properly implemented ERC token. And then they actually have an address for on the Polkadot network for the DOT cryptocurrency that they've made for the network, which we covered in our Polkadot episode. And in fact, one of the things I've been watching behind the scenes is that there is going to be another Polkadot Decoded, and now we know how we could stream it so we won't have the choppiness of that happened last time. So we are totally going to make a special just for that. I will also give you a heads up that in May we will be doing a live stream, a really cool one, about Bitcoin pizza that day. We're going to be talking about cryptocurrencies and pizza with a really cool guest that I think will be really fucking awesome for that. But yeah, those are the two addresses there. I'm also just going to put in, before we get into the episode, random fundraisers that you can help out directly with various projects. We're going to be adding some more later on this week. You have the giving block, which we covered in our December episode, which is basically a format where you can donate cryptocurrencies directly to charities. They're kind of like the Tiltify of cryptocurrencies, if that makes sense. Uniswap, which we're actually going to talk about a little bit in this, also has a page up, so you can do that in a decentralized manner, because the Giving Block is centralized donations, even though you can submit anonymously. And if you want something a bit more official, Binance is also doing their own charity page under Binance Charity, and you can also directly donate to the Ukrainian Pride Group, and all sorts of things like that. So just letting you know, I'm putting that out there of all the different ways you can actually help out the Ukrainians during this war front. So now that I've gotten all that out of the way, speaking of the Ukrainian-Russian conflict, let's get into what today's episode's about. So Coinbase. I'm still going to detail of what Coinbase is, but I feel really stupid doing so, simply because I think Coinbase is kind of popular and famous enough that pretty much everyone knows what it is. This is the cryptocurrency. Like, when most people think of cryptocurrency, they think of, unfortunately, Elon Musk, and they think of Coinbase. That's the reality of what it is. Let me just make sure I got this camera right, because I'm just pulling it closer to my face. There we go. But Coinbase is one of the earliest cryptocurrency centralized exchanges, and it is and was probably arguably. Let's put this. By the way, if you're wondering about this shirt again, this is a shirt of my friend. Her name's Lydia Wiltz. You can go type lydiawiltz.com. I'm not going to put it in chat, and look her up. She is actually a clown, and she does a lot of stage performance stuff, sideshow acts, burlesque, kids' birthday parties, things like that. And it was her birthday a couple of weeks ago, and it's still her birth month, and I was celebrating her birthday again last night, so that's why I'm wearing this shirt. So if you're wondering why there's like a Kilroy clown looking at you, that's why. But anyhow, it was, again, Coinbase was one of the early exchanges, and because of a bunch of different things and investments and stuff, it became arguably the most popular central exchange, first for Bitcoin, and then they've added a bunch of currencies over time. It's kind of basically Coinbase, I would argue Coinbase, Kraken recently, but mainly Coinbase and Binance are like the two main rivals. If you get listed on either of those two, you are in the top coins and everyone else is going to follow, which is probably why, if I remember correctly, they don't really cover. They cover a bunch of cryptocurrencies, but they only cover like the big ones that you've heard of. You can see people's pieces here. You have Maple, Status, VeChain. They have a whole list of assets on their website, and like the whole tradable list and stuff. Obviously, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum. Maybe Monero. That just like, I think Monero is actually one of the few that they don't cover, because it's like, oh, hackers use this cryptocurrency, and so they don't want to cover it. But yeah, basically this is a centralized exchange. What that means is you go to the website, you have an app, you make an account. If I remember correctly, you also have to like do a thing where you show like ID with your face, like two forms of ID, like your social and like your driver's license, or like your social and your birth certificate or something, and it approves you. Very honestly, while you could call them out for that, it's very similar to a lot of other exchanges, and in fact, it's very similar to the way, like, if you use Brave and you sign up for BAT, you have to go through a similar process. So don't be laughing at Coinbase if you use Brave and their BAT tokens, as we covered 2 years ago on our Halloween episodes. And you get your own wallet, and basically you can move coins to that wallet, and then if you want to like exchange like your equivalent of like Litecoin for like Satoshis and Bitcoin and stuff, you can find another person, or you could go into the Coinbase's own reserve and exchange those. And kind of the same way that when you go to an actual finance exchange, like let's say I visit Japan, I can go to a fiat currency exchange in Japan, usually at the embassy, and I can give their bank USD, and they'll exchange for the equivalent value of USD and yen, which, by the way, at this rate is a lot of yen, because the yen is way too hard. That's why like it's like $5 is like 1 billion yen. It doesn't mean they're broke. It's just that's the way money works. It's the same way how like euros seem to be lower number value than the United States money, because there is stronger and a lot more of the euros. So like, if something's like 15 euros to buy, it's kind of like almost 17 euros our currency. And things change, and it changes in the cryptocurrency world. It changes on Coinbase and all this sort of stuff. They've also teamed up with Visa, and this is something that used to only exist in Europe, and you can now get them here, and I will be covering these. I don't know if I'm going to, might slip into early 2023, but I will be doing an episode where we talk about cryptocurrency cards and how they start off as this weird independent thing mainly in Europe, and then because of major companies like Coinbase and Binance and stuff, you can actually get official cards that both carry your fiat money, like as you can see with that pin and chip right there, and actual cryptocurrency, and basically find yourself a girl that can do both. They also have their own like function trading systems. They do cloud network infrastructure. They basically are in everything. They are they are like the biggest exchange. And obviously, if you are big in the exchange, ooh, this is interesting. They actually have a private client. Let's look at this. Navigate crypto with a high-touch team of experts. So it seems like the security here, because I'm pretty sure they have like good security backend, but it more seems like they're trying to, which is true, we will get into that in a little bit, prevent social engineering attacks, and like making sure you're not investing in a shitcoin that's going to pump and dump and run away with your money. than doing all of that and trying to find private clients for your exchange. But because they're such a big institution, like any big institution, they've developed controversies. And, there's been a couple over the years, bit by bit, but there's been two big ones that, like, when, like, Bloomberg, not Bloomberg Crypto, their new subdivision that covers cryptocurrency, Bloomberg's talking about this, when Reuters is talking about this, when it's all over personal blogs, crypto YouTubes, finance YouTubes, when Chase Bank's complaining about this. Yeah, it's a kind of a big fucking deal. And the first controversy they ran into is the fact that, for obvious reasons, a fuck ton of countries have sanctioned, rightfully so in my opinion, Russia over all of their bullshit, trying to invade and destroy Ukrainians, while threatening every single country, past, present, and future. They probably have already threatened the Prussian Empire at this point. Which, funny fact, the Prussian Empire, when they dissolved, you know what they turned into? What we now call Western Russia and Ukraine. Fun fact. And another fun fact, do you know that our terrible U.S. school system was actually based on the way the Prussian school system was designed in the 1800s, which is important because they've gone on record to say that the Prussian school system was not designed to make independent democratic citizens, but actually workers that could be sent to work for the government and to be taxed. Doesn't that explain a lot? Like, you don't really learn any, like, all the good stuff you learn in college, which is basically a giant paywall of, like, fucking pay us, or you don't, or you're basically dumb, deaf, and blind. And that's why the United States is the way it is. So, instead of monitoring it, doing after, like, newer research, it's basically like the United States is like, oh, fuck hospitals, and actually they're kind of like this, fuck vaccines and stuff. We're going to go back to bloodletting and the four humors. My country. But enough about my country. Let's go back to what all the bullshit Russia's doing. So, a ton of countries have sanctioned Russia. Now, here's something that I've been saying over and over again on this show. Because I've been, people ask me independently about crypto stuff, both in person and online, even before this show, but now especially now that I have crypto barons and all this stuff. It's this, so Coinbase and any of these centralized exchanges, any official thing, Bitcoin itself is even like this, okay? Any big giant thing, especially I will say if Elon Musk supports it, okay? Especially if Elon Musk supports it because he's a fucking dolt. He's the Bill Gates of our generation in all the worst ways. That Coinbase and others like it are going to have the same problem that currently DuckDuckGo has, which is that no matter how gung-ho, privacy, security focused they are, consumer friendly, we judge data on where it's physically located. So, like, if there was, like, I don't know, the P-tape of Donald Trump, and the server pathway, like where the server that stores that is in Chile, we would say the source is from Chile, and therefore it falls under Chilean laws. Now, access laws are different. Like right now in Russia, they've banned a ton of ISPs. So Russian citizens, unless they use things like VPN, Tor, I2P and stuff, or hack things, they have a problem accessing things outside of their country right now. That thing is still there, and if they reach those websites, like let's say clownpenis.fart, and that's a United States domain, there's that domain with the content on it is subjugated to United States law. Okay? If the domain's hosted in France, it's hosted in France. That's why, for example, there's a lot of private email companies like Proton Mail and stuff that proudly list themselves as like, oh, we're in France or we're in Switzerland or something. And the reason they do that is because, like, for example, Swiss laws are extremely privacy oriented, right? Allegedly. So that's why they list that, because even though you're accessing it through like protonmail.com, because the servers are located in like a Nordic country where they have those laws, the United States could barely do shit about it. They can block access to you, they can sue you and stuff, but they can't do shit because then they have to deal with the Swiss government and, I fold. That's what happens. And Coinbase and DuckDuckGo have this exact same problem where they are United States companies at their core. Their servers, their main business licenses and everything are in the United States. Meaning, if the United States imposes sanctions on Russians, a U.S. company like Coinbase has to comply. And because so many different countries have done this, they're basically screwed. They're basically like, they either do this or basically get sanctioned to them death themselves and sued to oblivion and shut down. So the big controversy, the first one, is that Coinbase blocked 25,000 crypto wallets linked to Russian users. And, you know, mixed opinions about this. If these were accounts that were, after investigated, confirmed that they were being used by all the terrible oligarchs in the Russian government, you know, because that's been, you know, like the UK's been cracking down on their like boats and mansions and shit and stuff like that. You know, good. That is a good thing in my opinion. More power to them, right? On the other hand, which is kind of the controversy of this, is that it's kind of the same thing of like when we depict criminals in United States society. Like I'll put it this way: as someone who likes the Second Amendment overall, unlike what the gun idiots say, and, you know, is in the process of trying to own a firearm and has fired firearms, have gone through training and stuff before. I love the warning about the IceCap browser. Let me just turn that off. Thank you, Bloomberg, you piece of fuck. I'm glad you're not our president. Glad you're not our president. Do not try again. Do not try again. But what was I getting at here? My brain just died. Yay! Like reboot logo on my face, like you see what the femboy accounts do on here. But that when you often go, like, there's a reason why most gun targets are nondescript. Because, like, for example, when you like go to like the NRA, what group I fucking hate. I support Second Amendment and gun, and I have friends that we all hate the NRA for years. Glad everyone else is woken up to that shit. But that there's a reason why the targets are usually nondescript. And the reason for that is, like, if you look at the stuff that NRA sells and a lot of gun companies sell, when they try to do more fanciful targets, you will notice something. There are no white criminals with shades and bandanas. There's no one that looks like the people that attacked on Jan 6. Okay? Every time you see articles and they mention crime, they always feature brown people. They always feature, mainly, especially from the United States, black, African Americans, and Latinos. Even though, for example, at my job, and a lot of, like, the enforcement in, like, for example, Jersey City, like, if you throw a rock at the JCPD, you're going to hit a million Rodriguez's. You know? It's like, that's what I mean. Like, and I mean, like, non-passing, because I hate that as someone who's been mixed. But, like, all of that. But the problem is that, like, when we talk about it, these are the images we show up. We show, like, African Americans with bandanas and gats instead of, like, you know, like, that's a thing. But, like, where are any of the imagery of, like, which also exists, especially when you go in the Midwest, of fucking white people with giant shades and, like, Trump 2024 flags? And I've seen videos of this shooting and killing police officers. You know? Like, that's never shown, even though that realistically exists. Like, you would think it'd be a mix of people instead of one thing. This is the same problem where, and you're also starting to see this in neighbors like one of my home countries, Poland, Georgia, which I've been seeing a lot of, which is we're now getting anti-Russian sentiment, which fucking sucks because this whole war, and this is one of the reasons why I hate Putin so much, is a Putin and Kremlin thing. This is not a Russian thing. It's basically the Kremlin, Putin, and the global oligarchs from Russia and that back Russia. The Russian citizens, most of them don't want these. That's why they're protesting. So how does Coinbase know the difference between an account that is a patsy for the Russian government and just some Russian person, like, for example, NFKRZ, who's an amazing YouTuber who has had his YouTube account for years, and he reports on a lot of Russian things, like he talks about, like, the fast food in Russia and the housing market, and he explains a lot of Russian memes and reviews, like, movies and Russian accents and stuff. He recently had to leave for Georgia, and despite him having a legitimate business his entire life, and he fucking hates Putin and everything, he's been denied by Georgian banks to set up accounts because they now assume that all Russians are immediately work for the Kremlin. It's like believing that every person in the United States loves Trump and is a QAnon gun-toting maniac. It's like, that doesn't exist. Like, those people exist, but it's a mix of people, you know? And so that's the problem is, how many of these accounts were just like Russian citizens, and especially a lot of them who are in finance, who are just like, oh, cool, Web3, I'm going to invest in this thing. This seems neat, and I'm going to carry on like, my day job where I'm a security guard for like some weird retail building, and then I'm going to like, do some like cool Web3 development and crypto on the side, and they got all this shit shut down, which to me should make you even more mad about Putin and his bullshit. But that was the controversy with Coinbase #1. And by the way, for that awesome streamer and NFK RZ, he does accept cryptocurrency, both Bitcoin and Ethereum, and I just posted his wallet links in the chat just so that everyone can have them. But that was controversy #1. We basically have like 20 to 30 minutes left. And I just want to note that on the opposite end of this spectrum of centralized cryptocurrencies, Kraken, its rival, has... I don't know if anything's changed, but when all this stuff started to happen, he announced that he was not going to take down accounts unless he was legally, like, sanctioned to. Like, he wasn't just going to do it automatically, which is fine, but the fucking worst part that I hate is that he literally said, I'm not sure if it's in this article, but I saw the video of his response, which unfortunately I don't have up, and this guy, Jesse Powell, we're going to cover him one day. But the thing is that, and by the way, Kraken's whole thing is they're like ultra about security. So I think all their servers are like, I think located in Sweden, and they have physical armed guards at the site that they pay and shit like that to protect all of your centralized mass finances. But he literally said that the reason why he doesn't want to do this is because of, quote, libertarian values, which, to be honest, kind of now makes me even more happy about like now I'm not going to use Kraken ever personally, just because he said that. Like he could have just said like what it says here of like, we don't know the difference between a normal account and like an oligarch account, so unless we're subpoenaed of like, hey, this account is like from Russia, we're not going to do it. But the fact that he literally said that he's not going to do it to not compromise his and Kraken's libertarian values, fuck you. I'm not using either of them. I don't use centralized exchanges, by the way. I keep everything local on my own wallets. It's easier that way for reasons. And even if I did, because I'll put it this way, in the past I've used South Exchange, which we could talk a little bit about in a bit. But even when I use that, a rule of thumb is if you use any exchange, central or decentralized, the account that they give you to put the crypto, only do a little bit. Like, if you're going to have something on Coinbase, Binance, Kraken, whatever, like, let's say you have, like, I don't know, 5 Bitcoins, aka, like, $1 billion. Like, only put, like, 2 Satoshis on there. Like, don't put, like, all 50 of your Satoshis, because if they get hacked or they get subpoenaed or compromised, like what's been happening, that's your money gone. You only want to... It's like the opposite of a real-life bank, where because of how solid banks are, especially with laws and shit, you actually want most of your money in a bank, and then you have a chunk out that you have in real life unless there's an emergency. It's kind of the reverse, where you should have most of your money on you in your actual local wallets, hopefully with good security around that piece of hardware that you have, whether it's a dedicated wallet or a laptop or a smartphone or something, and only put a little bit in exchanges at the time. Like, if you're going to exchange something, do it bit by bit and only the amount that you're going to exchange for. Don't, like, put something and let that sit there, because you're just asked to get robbed and hacked. Just to contrast between the two, Kraken is like, we're not going to do anything, but because of bullshit U.S. libertarian values that make no sense. And then Coinbase went like, yes, dear, and kowtowed to all the governments, which means I fucking hate both of them. The other controversy that literally happened 2 days ago is this whole thing. So we've now gone from Russia to Canada, and CoinDesk's website is stupid, but we're going to read this. And basically what happens is that if you use Coinbase and you transfer your money or exchange your money in Canada, to or from Canada, and from Canada, let's say, to Singapore and Japan. I don't know why Russia's not on this, but both of those, Coinbase is going to need receipt information of what you exchange. This is customers in those countries who send crypto outside their Coinbase accounts. So if you're in Canada, Singapore, Japan, and you have a Coinbase, and you send this anywhere else, and especially because, Canada, big fucking first world country. Not that the other two are, like, not good. Like, Singapore's interesting. I love Japan. But Canada's, like, Canada is, as Robin Williams said, Canada is basically a loft department over a really awful party. That's their relationship to the United States. Party that's gone out of control. Customers in those countries, Canada, Singapore, and Japan, who send crypto outside their country to like another country like, you know, America or Zimbabwe or Russia, will now need to provide the names and addresses starting next week, early April. And this is not just a simple thing. You need basically you need the name of the person you're sending, the legal name. I think possibly their IP address if you can, their exact wallet, and like where they're located. It's basically you have to dox both parties here. Yeah, it says, wait, what's all the point of crypto blockchain being outside of the finance system? This is exactly what this is bringing up. You know, fucking crypto bros just being like, yo, do the drip, Coinbase, Kraken, and then this happening. Because crypto bros are there to, you know, show off their fucking gold-plated fucking tracksuits and their 8 billion Lamborghinis that have fucking anime characters on them, rather than being smart financially and technologically about the same shit that they're in. Mostly because most of these assholes are rich, spoiled brats with silver spoons in their mouths. See Hoboken, where you find a lot of these. But that's a story for another time. So yeah, like between the fact that if you're now in Canada, Singapore, and Japan, you send crypto everywhere, you have to dox yourself and dox the person you're sending to. And Coinbase's whole thing of suspending Russian accounts, apparently randomly, like whether or not you're criminal. If you're Russian, you should probably be off Coinbase, even if you're like a Russian citizen in the United States. Coinbase has come out of a lot of hot water, which has then bring up the topic of what's our alternative? Well, the alternative has been around for many, many, many years, and that is a decentralized exchange, or a DEX, as opposed to, and this is true, a centralized exchange, a CEX, and I shit you not, cryptocurrency people and financiers pronounce in the same way decentralized exchange, DEX, DEX, they pronounce centralized exchange, CEX, as sex. I'm sending Bitcoin to the sex. I am totally sexing up my Litecoin. My Ethereum is supercharged sex. It is very dirty Ethereum through the sex. I need to now rotate and tumble my Bitcoin because they're dirty and I don't want to dirty the sex. This is an actual thing. They say it with, I don't know how they say it with a straight face, but they do. So anyhow, what the hell is a DEX, or a decentralized exchange, compared to a centralized exchange? Well, as we usually do on Crypto Barons, I have a couple of videos. So we're going to look at some videos about what a centralized exchange is. And then we are going to, I'm going to detail a bit more about it. Then we're going to look at some decentralized exchanges. And we're then going to look into our main exchange that sadly we can't load, but we're going to look at the code of it known as Bisq. So tell me, Internet, what is, let's get the headphones. What is a DEX, or decentralized exchange? Let's watch together.
The four core functions of any exchange are capital deposits, order books, order matching, and asset exchange. In order to create a fully decentralized exchange, or DEX, each of these functions must be decentralized. Typically on cryptocurrency exchanges, the asset exchange part is decentralized by default, as the assets are cryptocurrencies. The other three functions, and especially deposits, are usually centralized. Due to Know Your Customer and anti-money laundering regulations, exchanges are required to seek users' identities for any capital deposits. This is stored on a centralized server that holds your personal information. An exchange with any form of centralized databases or servers is allowing you to access the cryptocurrency market, while the decentralized exchange gives you access. A decentralized exchange does not, and cannot shut anyone out. The most obvious benefit of a DEX is the same as with any decentralized application, the censorship resistance. Any application built on a decentralized blockchain can't be shut down, unless the entire chain is shut down. This is important, as many countries have banned or heavily restricted cryptocurrency use. In order for citizens of these countries to be able to access the ecosystem, they need applications that their government can't shut down. If your access point to the crypto world is a centralized exchange, then your ability to access cryptocurrency is no more free or independent than your ability to access regular currency. A government could still seize your assets, shut down your trading, or come after you personally. Decentralized exchanges mitigate much of this risk. Decentralized exchanges also require the user to be 100% responsible and in control of their funds. For some people, this might be a negative. Not everyone wants to be in charge of the safety of their assets. But by shouldering the responsibility on your own, your funds are as secure as you want them to be. Several $million of cryptocurrency have been stolen from users when the centralized exchange that they used was hacked. By taking your funds into your own hands and using a DEX, your currency is your responsibility, and a corporation's security vulnerabilities won't affect you. Of course, the DEX's code can still have vulnerabilities or be compromised, so you should still use them with caution. Try and educate yourself as best as you can about the platform that you're using, and take extra steps to secure your own assets as best as you can. Finally, DEXs can facilitate faster and cheaper transactions, as code does all of the validation. There's no middleman paying employees to verify every trade and take huge cuts off of every transaction. The code does its work, and you get the best value, as well as the most control in your trading. It's not an easy undertaking to decentralize every aspect of an exchange marketplace, and while some have nailed down the basic functionalities of swapping coins with other users, the more advanced functionalities are by and large not present. Someone used to robust and complex centralized stock trading platforms would be woefully disappointed moving to a decentralized cryptocurrency exchange. So in that aspect, DEXs still have some catching up to do with centralized exchanges that can generally provide more robust features and a better user experience. DEXs are no doubt an important part of the future of cryptocurrency, and are already a major help for people in restricted countries that want to access the blockchain ecosystem. With more growth and development time, DEXs will be more advanced and become a better and better option against traditional exchanges.
Alright, that's enough of that as we go back to the face mode here. We're just going to do a simple fade. So first of all, I'm going to celebrate any cryptocurrency video that either A, doesn't use the whole like happy jingles with fucking kazoos and xylophones and shit like it's a fucking baby shower, and it's opposite end cousin where they just do fucking like Matrix goddamn Tron shit, techno music, bullet time motherfucking. Those two music styles for cryptocurrencies need to die, where it's either like taking the edge off, making things artificially fucking Stepford creepy happy, or just, oh wow, the edge and the cringe. So, you know, one of these days I'll get something with a happy medium, you know, where it's just the facts and just generic like tempo music in the background or something. But let's kind of detail a bit about what they meant about exchanges and stuff. So, a centralized exchange, or a CEX, like Coinbase or Kraken, basically works very similar to a traditional stock or commodities market that you would see in the fiat world, where buyers, sellers, and traders will exchange goods, services, and currency with each other. So, for example, if you wanted to buy like Tesla shares, although I don't know why after teenagers are just driving over cliffs with them, or invest into some RX 3060s because now they're worth more than gold bricks, then you might be able to put that out there on an exchange, and someone might be able to sell at a price that you both agree on. So that you just like, it's like a bulletin board, like a BBS, where it's like, hey, I have a thing, or like eBay or Craigslist back in the day before they banned the sex workers. I have the thing. Would anyone be interested in this thing? I can negotiate the price. And someone's like, I'm interested in the thing. What's your price? And it's like, my price is $5, and it's like, I have fucks to give. $5 works out to me. Can I have your address for the thing? Here's my address. Here's, you want, when I get it, I'll send the fucks. I've sent the thing. I've sent you the fucks. Go about your fucking day. Thank you, fuck giver. That's basically what centralized exchange is, and centralized exchange works exactly like the traditional one. So even a thing like Kraken, where they have libertarian values and they have like little fucking trench coat people with shotguns in the Swedish servers, it's still a centralized exchange. And basically you, that was gross, specify like how much you're willing to pay for, let's say, cryptocurrency. Like, I have this amount of Litecoin. Can someone exchange this for a Dogecoin? Because Dogecoin, I have to fucking shoot for the goddamn dog moon here. And then someone else is like, hey, I'm willing to trade for that. And the whole thing about it is, hence it's a CEX, or centralized, This is all happening on a server somewhere. There are actual servers. You are connecting to their network, and you are talking with the GUIs and the functions with those networks. Kind of like a video game server, you know, something you connect to, like an IRC channel, right? So a decentralized exchange is different. One is that no DEX, from what I understand, although the one we're going to talk about, I think has a slight loophole around it. You normally won't find them exchanging crypto for fiat. So centralized currencies, like you can go to Coinbase or Binance, and you can directly buy Satoshis and Bitcoins, Litecoins, Ethereums, all the coins listing with USD or other qualified fiat monies, euros, probably not rubles, because rubles is now its own shit altcoin in of itself, thanks to all the sanctions. But that doesn't usually work on a decentralized exchange. You can only exchange like so for example, like if you have like Tether, right? I don't want to talk about Tether because guys, but you have Tether and Ethereum. It maintains a liquidity pool, and a liquidity pool is a fund containing the equal dollar amount of each token. So for example, like $10 or 10 million each of USD and EHTC. So what makes it different is that instead of connecting to a server, again, it's decentralized. There's no centralized place. You're loading a client, because there's for a while there used to be no web interfaces. Basically, you're loading a client or a web page in which you are basically shouting out into the void, and then someone on the same client is going to find your thing, and they're going to directly connect you peer to peer from that person to you. There is no middleman. Even though you're dealing with a GUI, the GUI is just there to facilitate the transaction. There is no oversight in it. The people who have created the thing just create the code for it to run. They don't actively monitor the whole thing. So basically, you are going out of nowhere. It's the difference between like putting money in a bank and then using like the bank to send money to someone else, and telling someone to wait on an alleyway in the street, and then they meet there, and then you pull your pants down and you do the things and you exchange the money. That's literally the difference there, where there's no middleman in that threesome. There's no middleman. You're doing the exchange directly, and you're able to do that because of things like the liquidity pools. And the whole thing is it's also entirely on your end. So when you put coins on a DEX in the wallet, it's not being stored on a central server wallet that's generated towards you. It's a local wallet like your own Bitcoin wallet or Litecoin wallet is, except that it's able to connect to the peer-to-peer decentralized network, also known as like market makers. And most DEXs, and we're going to flip over in a moment, use a constant product formula which adjusts for exchange rate to keep the market balance, the total value of each coin in the pool multiplied together for a constant value. So I have a little graphic here. We're going to zoom into this, and I'm going to end the stream at like between 840 and 850 here. So here we go. Let's go back to the stream. Oh, I have to turn on the fucking, where are you? Where is the browser? Browser. There you are. All right. So to calculate this, we're going to do x times y equals k. So we're using the token quantity, that's x, for the one token. And then the other quantity, which is y. When you multiply those two quantities together, you get the constants between the two, which allows the automatic exchange to happen. Okay? This is how this whole shindig works, people. This is the actual math behind it. Let me go back to my notes here. So because of that equation, if you trade, let's say, Tether to get Ethereum, the price of Tether falls and Ethereum rises. And because of that balance using this equation, which is a constant product formula, this basically allows traders to buy the now cheaper UTSD, thus rebalancing it. Because one of the biggest problems used to be for a decentralized exchange, and this is why you don't really see them with fiat currency, besides all the regulations, is like, okay, how do we, since these decentralized exchanges are monitored, how can we like make sure that people don't like buy so many goddamn rubles that it tanks all the other fiat currencies? And the way this gets by in cryptocurrency is by using equations like that, where basically when you trade for one thing, it lowers the value of the other thing slightly, and then when that gets traded, it ups the value, so it's constantly in balance of itself. Now, this sounds really cool, and there are good pros and cons to all of these. Let me find some of the positives here that I have. So some of the positives here is that because you're running a client, whether it's through a web browser or ideally an application, as I said in the video, you're not dealing with a middleman, so you're allowed, like for example, most Monero is not sellable, if I remember correctly, on Coinbase, and a lot of other centralized exchanges. I'm not sure about Kraken, but pretty much because it's the hacker coin, they don't do it. When people trade and exchange Monero, like if you got Monero and you want to take it out fiat money, that means you have to exchange Monero for Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin you can like go to Coinbase and fiat that shit. In order to do that, basically Monero thrives on decentralized exchanges. That's where it's traded, because since the central is the big brother, big man, they've gone underground. Although that's the kind of the question we're going to bring up is, now that Coinbase is faltering and people are starting to notice these sort of problems with centralized exchanges, will we see a rise in a better understanding and more of a reliance on decentralized exchanges, to the point where I'm actually thinking that in the near future we're going to see decentralized exchange being built in directly to blockchain platforms when new coins are developed and old ones are reformatted, kind of the same way Ethereum's now being reformatted for multi-chain parallel systems to make it more like Polkadot and stuff. We might be able to see that in future things right there. So you're doing that. Let's see here. The other thing is convenience, because you can just load it and it's all right there. It's done locally. So when you move the Bitcoin over to your wallet, it's yours. You can see it. When you do a centralized exchange, it not only takes a while, but because it's a middleman, in addition to the gas fees, it's going to cut out its own thing. So when you do a decentralized exchange, the only time the value of your coin goes down is through the actual gas feeds between the blockchains and cryptocurrency types. Decentralized exchanges like Bisq will not take a cut because they're just making a platform software. They're not doing all the transaction stuff. You're handling that through their client. So that's kind of a good thing right there. A bad thing about this, to some degree, is sort of the convenience. Now, it was a lot worse back in the day, because normally you would need a Web3 compatible wallet and all this crazy stuff. Now, with like MetaMask and some of the other centralized exchanges that run in browsers, which we'll talk a little bit about. I'm sorry for shaking the camera. It's a little bit less, and a lot of browsers are now being built with Web3 type stuff, like what is it, CryptoFox and stuff like that, built in. But it's still kind of a thing where you need to run the software and you have to set things up in order for it to work. Now, another good thing about decentralized exchanges as opposed to centralized exchanges is that a CEX, or centralized exchange, since there's so many things where it's like you send your coin to the wallet in Coinbase, and then Coinbase has to send it to a checker to make sure everything's kosher. And then when it's kosher, it sends it to another person who hooks you up with the person you want to exchange, who have already sent it to their thing and went through their checkers, and then they figure out the thing, and then it goes back the other. So it's like 12 plus steps. There are so many different ways where if someone gets into that network, you can be hacked, you can lose your coins, and it's happened before. It's happened on Coinbase. It's happened on every major central currency exchange, which is exactly why they recommend that, like, if you are going to use a centralized exchange, put in only the amount you want to exchange. Don't ever leave a coins just sitting there, and only do a little bit of it at a time, because if you put all your chips in the pot, there's a good chance that through social engineering or a central or a server hack or whatever, you and many others will lose whatever coins are on that account, because they're ultimately being held by the centralized exchange and their physical servers. As they said, as the negative thing though in that is that that does not mean that these decentralized exchanges can't be hacked, because basically decentralized exchanges must keep their game up when it comes to security and bug bounties and patching, because the actual software that you use, whether it's something you launch on your own end or even the web deployed stuff, you with MetaMask and stuff, that stuff can be hacked. So even though you probably won't lose a lot like you would, if there's a major flaw in MetaMask or something like that, or in Bisq or whatever, and someone exploits that, they can then try to find accounts of individual wallets that are posted from those accounts and then try to pull the coins out of there locally from your machine. Now, obviously, that's kind of a bit more difficult to do, both because of how blockchains and exchanges and the decentralization is set up. But that is a thing, and it has happened. So that's kind of the negative side of just like basically with like stuff like Bisq, you're less likely to be hacked and not thoroughly pwned like the way Coinbase is, but that like everything else, it doesn't make you immune to it. Remember, there's no such thing in the same way there's no such thing as bulletproof, there's bullet resistance or resistive. There is no such thing as hack proof. There's not a thing of we can't be hacked. Anytime you see a thing, especially in crypto, where they're like we can't be hacked or there's no hacking, one, that's a lie. You just wait a while if it even gets off the ground, because like Stadia hasn't been hacked because it's a pathetic gaming platform, so no one hacks it. But two, it's kind of like the whole Mac viruses thing. And two is that that's a bad thing to say in general, because when most hackers see this thing can't be hacked or it's hack proof or whatever, hackers will go challenge accepted and then hack it just to see if they can, and you'll cause a lot of terrible stuff to happen. So we're gonna go on for like about 10 more minutes here. Other benefits here is that DEXs also offer a greater thing of privacy. Again, centralized Coinbase, they have to go through regulations. Pretty just as much assume that even with something like Kraken, that just assume that some government, someone is monitoring, even if they're like an undercover agent within that company. With things like Coinbase, I'm pretty sure it's very much like Google and stuff, where they have like direct people who work in the CIA on the chair people for these type of companies, because that's how things are. And especially since, like, for example, Biden signed in those cryptocurrency laws, the executive order, and that like places like Russia and India and stuff have their own even harsher shit on cryptocurrencies. That's kind of a whole thing too. Another good thing is DEXs are good for cryptocurrencies that are uncommon or have like actual privacy and security issues, such as Monero, which has like a stigma to it for being a hacker coin. And it's also really great for new cryptocurrencies, because all they have to do is put the index listing in the application, or in some cases for the application itself, there's a way you can possibly, I think there's also ways to manually put them in. And that's really it. That's the new instant reward. And that's really it. That's all you need to do with like Coinbase. There's a lot of coins that sit there and wait, and then like if they get big enough, like Dogecoin, where they actually get listed on it, you see the huge post and everyone cheers, and it's like 7 years later. You don't have that with decentralized exchanges, because essentially if you have a coin, well, the software is just there to provide for you shot out in the void, so there's no limit. No one has to approve that your coin has to be on there. As long as you have it and you have like the wallet and the infrastructure for it, you can exchange it on a DEX. Two other concerns in terms of finance is that, one, DEX fees are usually higher, and because of the decentralized nature, the transactions can't be reversed. So in Coinbase can do things, same thing with Kraken, similar to banks, like fiat banks, where if something happens, they can to some degree like reverse the damage a little bit, so they can reverse some of the smaller transactions, unlike fiat banks, which can do the whole thing, which is why you shouldn't really be worried about your bank getting hacked unless they're really shitty, like what happened with Tool, unfortunately. But if it's decentralized, well, you're responsible for your own coins, you're responsible for your own money. So if you end up in a scam and they run away with your money, there is nothing they can do about it. Another problem is price slippage and front running. This is where if something's really going to nail a DEX, like, yeah, there could be things where people could find a major vulnerability in a code for a decentralized exchange. What's probably more common is, you could have the most secure thing in the world, but if you're going to invest your like cryptocurrency into the television of Miko, something that's obviously a fucking MLM scam, well, you suck. That's your OPSEC failing. All of this, like most things in hacking, can be very susceptible to social engineering, because you're hacking the human brain, and the human brain is more behind the times than Ubuntu updates. So things like price slippage, where the larger you trade, the more unbalanced the liquidity pool gets. You can spam that. There's safeguards a lot of them try to put to prevent that in terms of the equation, but that still can be a thing in certain exchanges. And finally, front running, where like a trader, for example, like someone who does a mining operation, can see an upcoming transaction on the public feed that's traded if your coin allows for it, and increase his own fee that he lists to get a confirmed first for lower prices, and that's how they kind of jump with like the mining shit. So yeah, that's that right there. We're going to actually go back into the browser mode now, because we're going to take a look at, like, okay, now that we know what a decentralized exchange is, let's kind of look into what like some decentralized exchanges are there. We're going to mention a few and then go to a little bit of a deep dive for like 5 minutes or so into the one we're going to feature. We're going to look up a bit of the code and stuff. And again, if you like the stuff that you see so far, make sure you hit like, share, and subscribe on Twitch, DLive, and YouTube. That's all of our main stuff. We're also on PeerTube under Diode Zone. And, you know, hi everyone out there who's unfortunately stuck on Facebook, and especially hi to all of the amazing hacksaws who are watching YouTube incognito through NVIDIA's on tour, because we have a link to that as well. If you want a link to all of our stuff, I just posted our social media list, our link tree right there that has all of that. Our two big ones is DEFCON21NJ on Twitter and DEFCON21 on Instagram, but we're on a bunch of different things, including Mastodon, and we have our own Onion and GitHub and stuff like that. So there's that in there. I'm meaning to also put like the Ukraine stuff in there eventually. And then finally, you know, if you like the stuff, subscribe. You'll get notices for it if you do it while we stream. You don't have to follow, subscribe to us for free, you know, while we're streaming. But if you do it while we stream, I usually hear the Hack the Planet thing, and I cheer you all on. I thank you and stuff. And also, again, I really love active chat. So even in these last 5 to 8 minutes, would love to talk to you in chat. But if you're just here to lurk and learn, as I always say, keep lurking and keep learning. So just that spiel right there, and let's get on to it. So let's go back into the browser mode here. So there's been a couple, since the early days of decentralized exchanges, there's been a couple here. You have things like OpenOcean. It's a very slick thing. Let's see some of the stuff they can trade here. Tron, which we've covered in our 3rd episode, Binance, Ethereum, and they claim to be the link between DeFi and CeFi, so they kind of link between centralized exchanges and decentralized exchanges, so I guess that's unique for them. We're going to be covering these individually in future episodes. Then you have hilariously named decentralized exchanges, such as 1 inch exchange. 1 inch. That's how big. All you crypto bros talking about your game and how hung you are. 1 inch. Yeah. Probably the more popular ones are Uniswap, which was one of, if not the first, like browser built in, and there's been so many forks. And one of the biggest forks is PancakeSwap. And yes, well, even though I'm bringing them up now, we are going to be doing an episode where we talk about Uniswap and all of its variants, such as PancakeSwap. A lot of these exchanges are named after food, too. There's like Sushi Swap and Steak. It leads to my theory that the reason why you have things like Raspberry Pis and Wi-Fi pineapples and Wi-Fi pumpkins and coca, hidden mangoes and shit like that is because engineers work hours on end without eating, and so when they finally finish their project update and they're like, we have to name this thing, they're so hungry they name shit after food. Look, cake, see? You get some nice cake there, some twerk action. But like, even though I'm mentioning Uniswap and PancakeSwap, these will be our own episodes. We will be covering decentralized exchanges and other forms of exchanges in the future. But the one that I really want to focus on with this episode is Bisq. B-I-S-Q. What the hell is Bisq? And we're going to go back to face view as I look at my notes here so I can seem semi-professional. Let's go over here. Bisq is like the most decentralized of decentralized exchanges, okay? It's one of the better known ones. Bisq was, if I'm trying to remember what its original name is, its original name was, it was originally BitSquare, as it's commonly known. It has a cat for a logo. Actually, I just forgot about this. Why am I doing the face thing? What I should be doing instead, let's get away from my notes, is I once again have a video about this. So instead of me blabbing on for a little bit, let's look at Bisq's own video, which is a good piece of recon, about what it is, how it explains itself, and then I will go over the notes. And then in like about, I want to say like 5 minutes, we should be done with this episode. And if you're on Twitch, stay. We're going to raid another stream. So let's hear about Bisq from Bisq.
Bisq is a decentralized Bitcoin exchange. It's an open source, peer-to-peer system that allows anyone to buy and sell Bitcoin in exchange for national currencies like dollars, euros, or yen. In many ways, Bisq is like Bitcoin itself. Bitcoin is decentralized money. allow parties to transact directly with one another, eliminating the need for monetary middlemen. Bisq is built on this same philosophy, bringing the principles of decentralization to the process of buying and selling Bitcoin. Because while there are plenty of Bitcoin exchanges out there today, almost all of them are centralized. And that means there's a third party, a middleman. The companies that run centralized exchanges provide a valuable service, and naturally, they charge a fee for that. But reducing or eliminating fees isn't the only concern. Removing middlemen is also about ensuring the privacy of your data and the security of your funds. Bitcoin has proven that payment transactions without trusted third parties are possible. Bisq builds on Bitcoin to remove third parties from exchange transactions as well. With Bisq, there's nothing and no one between buyers and sellers but software. Of course, building this kind of system and making sure it's secure isn't easy, but we've designed a sophisticated solution. You can read all about it in our white paper and other docs at bisq.io, and we've proven this concept with working software. And by the way, when we say that Bisq is decentralized, we aren't just talking about the code and peer-to-peer network. Every aspect of the Bisq effort is decentralized, including how the code is written and how the project is managed. We aren't a startup or a company. We're a small and passionate group of people spread out around the world. We're building Bisq because we think that a properly decentralized Bitcoin exchange network needs to exist. If you do too, then we can use your help. To learn more, visit us at bisq.io, where you can find our roadmap, read our white paper, get in touch with us, and of course, download and try out Bisq for yourself. We look forward to seeing you on the network.
And I just realized, did I just go through that entire last section on mute? Did I really just go through that entire last section on mute? We get to do this episode over in a couple of episodes because I am that level of professional. Apparently, after I did that previous video, I guess I had it on mute the entire time, so no one could hear what I was saying. That's probably why our viewership went down a little bit. But anyhow, we're ending our show. Ignore everything else. Check us out on those links. Say hi to whoever we Twitch invade, who will hopefully not put their mic on mute for the rest of the episode. This is why we're updating all of our systems this week, including our website. Stay tuned. Hope you at least enjoyed the hilarity of how dumb this episode is. I will do a makeup one with an even deeper dive into Bisq and other crypto exchanges soon. Peace, everyone. Enjoy the music. Ah, so embarrassing!